All right, guys, welcome to this fantastic website, one of my favorites that we're going to be using for our first project here in art class. It's called Piskel, Piskel. The website is piskelapp.com. This is the main homepage. Not much to say about this page, but we're going to click on Create Sprite either here or up in the top right corner. And that's going to take us to the editor. In the editor, today we're going to go over some of the basic tools. Now this is a pixel-based drawing program. So you can see as I mouse around here on our art board, we get a little square. And every time we click, it's going to add a square to that area. If we click and drag, we can fill in a larger area more quickly. Make sense? For each one of the tools that we have selected over here, we have a couple options for each one. Up here is the size. So right now we're drawing 1 pixel at a time, one tiny little square. We can go up to a 2x2, which is 4 pixels at once, and we can draw with that. You can also go up to 3x3, and the biggest one is 4x4 if you need to fill in a big area more quickly. Okay, right now we're only drawing with black. If we want to change our color, we're going to go right down here to our primary color. If you click on that, we'll bring up this window and we can choose a different color. Go with red. Now we can click and drag with the red. The secondary color is right now, it's got this checkerboard pattern, just like the background here. That checkerboard, if you don't know what that means, that actually means it's empty. It's completely transparent and see-through. So this is what actually gets drawn if we right click. When I'm left clicking, I get my primary color, and if I left click, I get my secondary color. My secondary color right now is nothing. So it actually works as an eraser, which is great. There's also an eraser tool here. But if I swap this, my secondary color to blue, then when I right click and drag, it draws blue. When I left click and drag, it draws red. So that can be very useful sometimes. I usually like to keep it on this clear selection so that if I make a mistake, it's easy for me to erase quickly rather than having to click on the eraser tool. Let's talk about that next. It's very simple. Now, wherever I left click, it's going to erase. You can also make this bigger and get rid of larger areas. Okay? But the pen tool is the one you're going to be using most of the time. Let's go to the stroke tool, which will allow you to make straight-ish lines. If I click and drag now, you can see it's not drawing as I drag, but it's making a line across my screen. Now, because this is made up of big old squares, it might not look like a perfectly straight line unless we're going straight up and down, straight left and right, or perfectly diagonal looks pretty straight. So don't plan on it being absolutely straight when you're doing this, okay? There's a line, same thing. We can change the size. Just like before, we can change the color. All right, shape tool is very similar. Let me get a different color before we get too crowded here. A rectangle, click and drag, we get a rectangle. If you want a perfect square, you can use your other hand and hold down the shift key, and that will keep it a perfect square. Same thing for the circle tool. Click and drag, it will make the best circle it can, or an oval. If you hold shift, it will make it a perfect circle. Let's make an oval here. Okay. And then we have the paint bucket tool. This will fill in an area with color. Let's go to purple. All right, so if I click in this empty area here, it's going to fill that entire space with purple. Boom. All right, if I click on this black shape right here, it's going to fill that whole black shape with purple. Click, boom. All right, I could fill in my entire background with yellow with just one click. It's a little bright, so I'm going to undo that. Boop. Now, let's say I do a nice complicated drawing and I draw all this stuff with this beautiful red color, but I decide I don't want that color anymore. I decide maybe I want that color to be pink now. I could, with the pen tool, go in here and go over every single pixel and change it to pink. I could use the paint bucket tool, that would be a little faster, and click on each section and change it to pink. Or I could use what I usually call the magic paintbrush. This is called the paint all pixels of the same color tool. And And what this does is whatever color I click on, it's going to change every pixel on my artboard of that color to the new color. So if I click on one red pixel right here, it changes all the red pixels to pink. All right. If I do the same thing with this black pixel over here, all the black changes to pink. Okay. The last tool I'm going to talk to you guys about is this one up here, the vertical mirror pen. I'm actually going to get a clean board for this. This one people have a lot of fun with, so I left it for last. Let's get a nice dark green. The vertical mirror means that whatever I draw on one side is also going to show up on the other side. So as I'm drawing on the left, it's drawing the same thing over on the right. If I cross across, then I'm drawing on the right, and it is copying on the left. Okay? A really interesting way to make very quick patterns. All right? If I hover over this tool, you can see there are some other options. It says Control. If I hold the Control key, instead of reflecting over the center vertical axis line, it will reflect up and down. Let's try that. So if I hold Control and draw on the top, it's also going to draw on the bottom. Instead of reflecting left and right, it's reflecting up and down. All right, and if I hold Shift, it does both lines, so it'll reflect into the different corners. Let's get a reddish color here. So if I'm holding Shift, now I'm drawing in this corner, and it's drawn in every other corner at the same time. Okay, the other tools that we've been using also have some other options. You can see here the Magic Paint bucket has that option. You can draw extra straight lines with the Shift tool and the Stroke tool, and it also shows you how to keep those squares and circles perfectly squares and circles instead of rectangles and ovals. All right, so for today, I want you to play around with this program, use every single one of these tools, and I would like to see what you can create. When you're happy with what you have, go ahead and take a screen capture of it by holding down the Control key and tapping the multi-window button, which is the key right above the 6 key on your keyboard, and turn that into me. There's a lot more that this program can do, and it's very friendly. So if you want to, after you play around with these basic tools, play around with some of the other stuff, please feel free to do so. But make sure you get that screen capture, and make sure you turn that into the classroom today. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys soon.